Welcome to Bake to the Future, the podcast where we take a forward-looking perspective on the baking industry. I'm your host, Jennifer Kohlfeldt, Vice President of Operations and Membership at the American Bakers Association. Today, we have a special episode in store as we sit down with the President of Richmond Baking and the incoming Chair of the American Bakers Association, Bill Quigg. Bill, welcome back to the show.
Thanks, Jen. Great chatting with you today.
So I have to admit, I believe the last time you were on Bake to the Future was back in December of 2021. So it's been a little while, and admittedly, things have changed a little bit since then. But at that time, you answered one of our most difficult questions with a surprising answer. So I'd like to circle back to that for just a quick moment, if you don't mind. Is a chocolate chip cookie with a cold IPA beer still, in fact, your favorite baked good?
Well, I appreciate the exhaustive research that you had to do to remind me of my answer from a few years ago. I'm going to go a healthier bent this time. I'm not so much into the cookies and beer anymore. I am presently, every morning, my breakfast is a peanut butter cracker. So
nice.
These are the little sandwich crackers with the peanut butter in between. There's a particular brand that I like, but I have to say that I probably shouldn't show preference on the show because, I mean, they're a member most certainly, but, you know, you love all members equally. So I probably shouldn't disclose the brand name.
That is fair. Yes, we love all members equally. Absolutely. So, but wow, peanut butter cracker. I have to admit, we've not had that answer before. So that's wonderful.
It's a really nice blend of protein and carbs. So it's a good way to get the morning off. And I have it with my kids on the way to school every morning. So it's pretty fantastic.
That's awesome. Well, that's great. And who doesn't love a good cracker? So
there you go. I'm a cracker guy at heart.
In fact. So, Bill, you are a longtime member of ABA, and you're also from a multi-generational baking family. And so I'm sure you have many lifelong relationships in the commercial baking industry. But for those listeners who maybe don't know you as well, I wondered if we could just kind of get to know you a little bit more today.
Great.
So would you mind start by sharing with us a little bit about your journey and your family's history in the industry?
Be happy to, Jen. So our family actually got into the baking industry in 1902. My great-grandfather, whom I'm named after, purchased a company that was founded actually in 1855. So we can date our roots back to 1855 originally. But my great-grandfather was an entrepreneur and gathered a group of investors together in Richmond, Indiana, and founded Richmond Baking Company. And at that time, we were a corner bakery that, you know, had our ovens powered by steam, and our product was distributed by horses and wagons and all those things. We've got some of that memorabilia in the archive. It's really pretty great. And then kind of an interesting history, he ended up passing away around 1920 at the same time that his brand new bakery was being built in Richmond, which was a 5-story industrial bakery. And at that time decided to focus on not only cookies and crackers, but bread at the time. And then so sort of through the generations, our business was passed. And when we turned 100 years old, my dad passed the apron to me as president of the company. So I've been president since 1902. And you know, you made a good point, Jen, because really the amount of friendships and relationships and deep caring of different people through this industry has just been fantastic. And you just get to meet dozens and dozens of people that are just so caring. And really, I think it's a unique industry in that regard, in that certainly we're competitors and certainly it's a competitive industry.
Yes.
But with that goes a lot of friendships. I know when we've had challenges, whether that's natural disasters or different things through our history, the amount of outreach from other, quote, competitor bakeries has been unbelievable. I mean, truly, people just reaching out and saying, hey, how can we help? We understand you're in trouble. And so that's just kind of heartening to me and really makes me just love this industry even more.
Yes, absolutely. I completely agree with you. It's wonderful to see the community that is built with the industry, the relationships that are formed, whether they're, you know, lifelong, as you were describing, or also new. And, you know, it's a very welcoming industry. I found that when I first joined ABA, because obviously having worked in trade associations for my whole career, I've gotten to know different industries and those personalities of those different industries. And commercial baking, it was just so welcoming, and it just felt like a family.
Mhm.
You showed up at events and everyone just, there were hugs and, laughing, and people really just enjoy being with each other. And admittedly, you don't always get that at industry events. So,
Well, I've only known this industry and I love it. So it's hard for me to compare and contrast in that regard, but
yeah,
just the amount of friendships that I've been able to gain and you're right, it's like a big family.
it is. So, I guess that takes me to the next question, which is what's led you to take on the role as ABA chair?
Oh wow. So, really to be ABA chair's a humbling experience for sure. And it's quite frankly an honor and one that I've hoped for a long time. Just as I remember going to different meetings with my dad, who as I mentioned, I followed in the industry, since I was a little kid. And I remember we used to go to different dinners and we would sit there with the head of McKee Foods and we'd, sit there with the McKee family and the different people, from large companies like Flowers or Bimbo or whomever it might be to family-owned businesses like Schulte Birch and some of the ones that have just been icons of the industry forever.
Yeah.
And just looking up to these people in the industry that are such strong leaders, and hoping I could be amongst them one day. And so my journey does go through originally, as you know, Jen, through the Biscuit and Cracker Manufacturers Association, along with ABA, as we were co-members at the time. But that's sort of where I got my leadership opportunity first. So I was chairman of the Biscuit and Cracker Manufacturers Association and was part of the merger between that and ABA and really just trying to work alongside these people in the industry that are just so strong and so smart and
Yes.
figuring out how to make our industry better together, which was sort of the term that we used at the time when we did that merger. And then that allowed me to become deeply involved and really get to know the folks at ABA much better than I had as a general member. And so I think that sort of really piqued my interest of being in a leadership position. And then I'll say, having spent the last, few years on the executive committee, I've kind of lost count exactly how many it is. You probably 4 or 6 years or so, but even being able to more intimately know the folks on that committee has really been fantastic because I just get to learn firsthand the leadership style of the folks and really become, I hope, a better leader from that experience. And I have to have a quick call out to Cordia Harrington because she has just been such an incredible leader for this organization through really challenging times. And the fact that I can even hope to follow in her footsteps is really a challenge. But I also feel like she set up the organization exceptionally well and taught me a lot. I mean, as we sit in these meetings, I've gotten to take some of the things that she does so well and use them in my own company. So it's been great. It's been a fantastic experience.
That's wonderful. So that actually leads me to shifting slightly to more on a personal level. What have been some of the key moments of growth or learning experiences that have shaped your own leadership style?
Well, I think it's twofold. I think one is having the opportunity to work alongside my dad for so many years. He was of Quaker faith, which definitely permeated into his business dealings, which is very rich in integrity and in being honest and being straightforward and forthright, but also being a servant leader in a lot of regards and really letting other folks not only be in the limelight, but also serving them and trying to help them be successful. And so learning from him and for the first, 20 or so years of my career, but then he also let me make mistakes in the industry, in the company because he would allow me to make decisions and not micromanage me, but also I got to learn from those mistakes, which was an amazing opportunity to really grow. And then secondly, I'd say having the opportunity to work with Felicia, my wife, has been fantastic because we've worked together for many years now and really just being able to work and have an opportunity to bounce ideas off one another. And with that, we came up with the idea of More Than a Bakery, which is a bakery we built in Kentucky about 8 years ago, which was really kind of her brainchild to rebrand it, to create a culture that was really different and unique. And the whole term More Than a Bakery is really a challenge to us to say, how can we be different? How can we do things differently than what anyone else has done? And so being able to create that from literally a thoroughbred horse farm into a functioning, successful bakery alongside her has been really fantastic as well.
That's amazing. I don't know if everyone would say the same thing about their spouses, but you two have such a special relationship. That's wonderful to see.
Well, I'll admit we probably talk work more than we should. So I'm definitely guilty of that. But
yeah, how would you not? I mean, really?
Yeah, it's kind of hard.
So I'm curious, what are some of the challenges that you've experienced, either unique to Richmond baking or even just the commercial baking industry? And I mean, how did you overcome those? What sort of comes to mind immediately in thinking through that?
I think there are two that really come to mind. One is reaching back a bit into history, and that is the change from family-owned bakeries to whether that's private equity owned or conglomerations of bakeries put together. When I started in the industry, and my dad used to tell the story, when he started, there used to be 50 similar bakeries like that. And now, right now there's probably a handful, particularly on the cookie and cracker side, that are still family owned. And that just changes the dynamic. It's maybe not better or worse, but definitely different. And so I know we try to have a competitive advantage as a company to really think long term, where our horizon is generational. It's not by the quarter or by the year. And so I think that's changed. I think that's shifted the industry focus a bit and created new opportunities and also created new challenges. And when I say new opportunities, I'm really talking about some of the great work you and your team have done, Jen, with membership development, because we have some really cool bakeries that have come on board that are smaller and growing, and they absolutely can utilize the resources of the American Bakers Association to give them the leg up with networking, with governmental affairs, with all the things that a smaller bakery can really benefit from, and allow them to grow into larger bakeries and larger companies. And so it's been really fun to meet those new folks, thinking of Killer Brownie and some of those really cool companies that are coming on board and that can really grow and develop well.
Yes, absolutely. No, it's really been interesting to see the membership shift and develop over the past 4 or 5 years to become more diverse, not only in product set, but in terms of, the family bakeries and the entrepreneurial bakeries. And so it's been a really wonderful opportunity to get to know all of those companies and help them figure out what their future path looks like and how ABA can assist them in that. So, and honestly, a lot of it's really about that community we were talking about. We had a Bakers Forum call earlier in the year, and one of the members, which that's the group for entrepreneurial bakeries, and one of them was just talking about how supportive the ABA community has been for them, which was just amazing to hear. They said, a year ago, my business looked so different than it does today, and it's just through those relationships that I've been able to form over this past year. So the ABA community is welcoming them with open arms, which is really wonderful to see.
It is. And you're right. When you talk about diversity, that goes a lot of different directions. But I think of product diversity. I mean, frankly, we've been known for a long time as bread and rolls, and that's evolving, most certainly. That's a very core part of our membership, without question. But then also when we add, whether that's cookies and crackers or brownies or cupcakes or donuts or whatever different things that we have, it's fun and exciting. And we can then share information better because we're less competitive in those spaces.
Absolutely. Completely agree. So, which actually takes me to my next question. In thinking through that diversity of the member base and sort of the longtime members versus our newer members to the ABA community, as chair, I wondered, sort of what is your role to play in that and making sure all of those different voices are heard?
Well, I think that I have the ability to be representative of both small and large in size. and also have networks that can help bridge those gaps as well. So certainly I know folks that lead very large companies, and I know folks that, lead, one bakery shops. And to me, it's exciting to make those connections and to have folks that may need something unique or may have a challenge, or certainly I can have those as well and reach out to those different kinds of folks.
Yes.
I know I do that regularly. Even as I've been on the board, we'll maybe have an automation challenge, or, looking for different vendors and being able to talk to different people and be able to have different ideas come forth that I wouldn't have otherwise.
Yes. Yeah, that's great. That's the purpose of membership, right?
Yeah.
That's the value and benefit. So thinking about the year ahead, are there any specific initiatives or events that you're really looking forward to? What are your highlights for this next year?
I think I'm really excited for the upcoming fly-in. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. It's always great to get our folks up on the Hill and, talking to our legislators, because obviously governance is such a large and significant part of our organization, and to continue to, push forward the agenda and issues that are important to the ABA membership. I think we're looking at doing that probably more agnostically from party lines necessarily, but more what's truly best for the industry. And so how do we do that in a way that's positive and will help the industry grow? Certainly workforce and some of the big challenges that we deal with, immigration and those sort of things, need addressed, and we need to be able to focus on those with the legislators. I'm really excited about that. I'm excited about Nexus for year 2. Year 1, I think, was way more successful than we could have hoped, and really had a lot of positives with it. And I think as we turn that into a long-term event, what that shapes into, I think is really going to be interesting. And as always, I just love the next gen events. I think those are really particularly fun, because, it's not just about the age of the person, but it's really about developing people within the industry and helping them grow within the industry. I'm excited to get some of my people that are new to my company involved in that have a lot of industry experience, just not baking industry. So I think that's fun. The whole launch of the strategic plan process has been fantastic. It was very well received, very well supported by the board and its membership, but then also I think very well received. But what's exciting to me is that the ABA leadership team has really grasped it and said, we're going to put specific KPIs with it, and we're going to put numbers to it and data to it to make sure that we're achieving some of the things that are most important for the organization.
Yep. Agreed. Yeah, it's been a wonderful process. And honestly, sitting in on those meetings with the board and listening to their very candid feedback in terms of, where ABA, was at that point in time, where they'd like to see us go and develop, and really looking very future focused, was a really wonderful experience. Because sometimes from the ABA professional team's perspective, we can sit in a room and brainstorm all day long, but we could come up with all kinds of ideas. And reality is we need your guidance and your feedback directly from the industry to know whether those are the right places to be focusing and the right activities to be doing. So I know, at least for me, and I know for a lot of the team, that was just so impactful to be able to have those very candid sessions with the board of directors, and also to hear the broader membership feedback. So we're all really excited about what's to come.
For sure. Yeah, it's going to be an exciting year for sure.
It is. It is. So which actually leads me to my next question, which is looking even a little bit further ahead. Obviously, the strategic plan plays a part in this, but how do you envision the baking industry sort of evolving over the next 3 to 5 years? And how can ABA be a part of that evolution?
One of the phrases in the strategic plan that I think is most powerful relates to thought leadership. And that's really being a convener of the different facets of the industry, because there's so much power in being able to gather all these different resources together, all these different associations together, and focus in the same areas, and especially focusing in areas that play to each of our individual strengths. And so being able to really convene the groups together, have open and honest conversations, and try to figure out how can we be best working in concert with one another. To me, that's really where we can focus and gain a lot of traction for sure.
Yeah, that sounds great. Well, we're excited about it, I know. And I hope the industry is excited about it. At least it feels like it. I feel like there's just an energy that's building, which is great to see and feel. So I'm afraid we're actually up on our 20 minutes. And so I feel like we've got to wrap things up a little bit, which is crazy.
Sorry.
It's been a pleasure chatting with you this afternoon. But before we wrap up, is there anything else you would like to make sure to share with listeners, or any final thoughts that you have that you'd like to share?
Well, I would just reiterate that we're very fortunate to be in the industry that we're in, and we can really make an impact on the United States and on North America and the whole area that we serve. Because, when we think about things like food insecurity, and we think about being able to provide, our members make the lowest cost, highest calorie rich products that are available. And we have incredibly efficient supply chains and incredibly efficient bakeries and factories that make these products. And so being able to utilize that towards really the greater good and feeding the world, so to speak, I think is a huge opportunity as well. And it grows our industry as well, but then also really can help people. So I'm kind of excited about that aspect of our industry as well, especially if we're all working in non-competitive spaces to do that.
Absolutely. That's wonderful. Well, Bill, it's been a delight to talk to you today. And I also just want to say congratulations on your appointment as chair. And the ABA team is really excited to be working with you in this role over the next couple of years and, partnering together. So we're really excited about it.
Great. Thanks so much, Jen. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Yeah, thank you. So for all of our listeners, we appreciate your support and your feedback. If you have any thoughts or questions, reach out to us at hello@americanbakers.org. And don't forget to subscribe wherever you listen to your podcast. Thank you for tuning in.